You are now tuned into the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
You are now tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that's on all the time, anytime. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for all content. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Nathan Snell. Bring your sports game with Big Nate Sports Talk.
And thank you, Miss Anthony Handy, for that wonderful introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host, Nathan Snell of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. Hope everyone's often had a great day. A happy Friday. Hope the day is well for you. Here, I hope everyone has to do something fun for the weekend. This is episode 13, season 13 of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. And in this video, we are previewing the NFL divisional round. It's down to 8 teams. It should be an interesting divisional series. But before we get into that, there's a few things I'd like to say up front. Last video had a couple of videos that went up today and yesterday. Today, John Paul Jones had, for the New York Liberty, recently acquired in a three-way trade, had her introductory press conference. That video is up. Please check that out. The Baltimore Ravens had their press interview yesterday. I could not, due to outside obligations. I was not able to stream it as it was live, so I rebroadcasted it. I have the Maryland men's and women's recaps. I'll do those videos tomorrow because the men and women play tomorrow, Sunday afternoon, and then we'll do the recaps. WNBA free agency has started already. I believe as of tomorrow, they can actually start talking and start actually making deals. So you tune in for that. I'm hoping to have my guy Brandon Potts back on here. I will actually be on a podcast talking. I'll give you my thoughts on the Baltimore Ravens and the Washington Commanders. I will share more details as that's coming. I was invited on a podcast to talk about that, so I'm looking forward for that opportunity. And that's pretty much what's happening down the pipe. NFL mock draft, NFL offseason for the teams that have not made the playoffs. We will get into that. Those are videos that are coming down the pipe, so be tuned in for that. But that's enough for me blabbering about that. We all know why you're here. And it is the divisional round of the playoffs. 8 teams are here. I thought the Chargers should have won, but these 4 games, I think on paper, can make some serious head turns. I'm not going to say who my Super Bowl pick is right now. I think it's a little too early to call it, in my opinion, because each of these 8 teams have something dynamic. But there are 2 games that I want you guys to keen on as I'm previewing it. And we're going to start with the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Kansas City Chiefs. The last time these two teams saw each other, Kansas City beat them by 10, and Patrick Mahomes threw 400 touchdowns. 400. He threw for 4 touchdowns over 300 yards. And as a cohesive unit offensively, they totaled over 500 yards and only committed 3 turnovers painfully. I think there's some momentum riding in Jacksonville's. There's momentum riding for Jacksonville. You were down 27 against that team in San Diego. Trevor Lawrence. You saw 2 different types of Trevor Lawrence. You saw the rookie mistakes, and then you saw the game manager. I mean, he put the 4 interceptions behind him, and it's just interesting. Now you have to focus, and you have to find a way to have a complete game to beat arguably one of the best teams in the league, and also to a team that's beat you 10 out of the 11 times you faced them. And give Jacksonville credit. They've played them well. They've played this team tough. I mean, this is a Jaguars team that's 10th in points. I think let me look at my stats earlier. They're about 10th in total yards. They're 14th in rushing yards. They're 10th in the passing. They've converted almost 41% on third downs. They're arguably probably the best they're in the top 20 of red zone offense. When I look at, Jacksonville defensively, I think that's going to be my concern. They're surrender about almost 21 points a game. They allow over 350 yards. They allow a little over 100, almost close to 120 yards, and about giving up 240 yards in passing. And they allow, actually, I believe they're the 4th highest defense to give up third down. I think it's almost like 44%. And then like 60% of the touchdowns are scored in the end zone. That's the 9th highest. That can't happen. We know what Kansas City is built for. This is a team that I think has really, really silenced the critics. What does this team look like without Tyreek Hill? And I think Kansas City has gotten the last laugh in that one, in my opinion. We all know that it's led by arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the game. It's Patrick Mahomes. We all know that they're the cheat code. But also, too, defensively, this is a team that I'm not going to sneeze on. Like, I think for me to beat Jacksonville defensively is they're very blitz happy. And if history has shown since Patrick Mahomes has been lead, he shreds those defenses. And I'm kind of curious to see how they're defensively, what they're going to do against that Kansas City offense. That you've got to find some type of balance. I think for me, the keys it's going to come down for Jacksonville. It's going to come down to the offense. How can you ensure that you contain a guy like Chris Jones? And honestly and truthfully, this is why I look at who they signed, Brandon Sheriff. I think he is arguably the best player on the offensive line, but I think it's going to come out of the offensive line giving Trevor Lawrence the protection and time that he needs in the pocket. But also, too, I think it's going to be interesting to see, and this is my game I'm highlighting. Is Jacksonville the team? Can they play from behind? Or was Los Angeles just that bad? You have to understand, Jacksonville is a pass-first offense to me. And one thing I like about Doug Peterson's system is that the ball is spread around. Like Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, etc. That's his strength as a play caller. And defense is against the run. Like, to me, the reason why I think Los Angeles lost was because their clock management was crap. Like, you're up 21, you were up 27-0 because you allowed them to come back because you had no answers for them in the trenches, and even you made no adjustments on the offensive side of the ball. Like, it's going to come down to can Jacksonville stop the run? But I think it's going to come down. We all know that Kansas City is going to be mixing it up easily. That's my concern. I think that I'm giving Kansas City. I'm going to give Kansas City this win because I just think watching, and I'm not taking anything away from Jacksonville, but I just think the way Los Angeles gave them too many opportunities to win the game. Kansas City is a team that will not look back. And I'm looking at this past season, even though the early in the season that Jacksonville played them tough. This is a defense that struggles against the pass. They're the 5th worst in the NFL. I believe I'm saying that correctly. And like, don't get me wrong, they have pass rushers, but knowing how Kansas City is, they're going to ensure that Patrick Mahomes is going to have the time. And they're going to find ways to pick apart that defense. And I think defensively, if you're Jacksonville, that's going to be the key. I don't think it's going to come down the blitz. I think I like to see some zone coverage. I like to see something in there. But I'm going to give the edge to the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to give it 31. I'm going to give it 31-17.
Guaranteed.
I see a game like that. It's no disrespect to Jacksonville. I think they have great talent, but I'm thinking I'm just not that well. Can you play from behind? And against a team, and when you start going against teams like Cincinnati, Buffalo, Kansas City, nah, I can't see that. We're going to move on to our next game. This one should be interesting. It's going to be the Giants versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm super excited for this game, actually. We all know the Philadelphia Eagles, the number 1 seed. And looking at this team, I've kind of, first and foremost, I want to get this off my chest. I think Jalen Hurts is MVP. I feel as though that what they've done, I feel like there's some people in the media that have discredited him for the year that he's had. Is it, when Michael Parsons came out, or is it Jalen, or is it the team? You have to understand, this was a team last year that did offensively that was struggling. And they were really ready to throw the towel in on Jalen Hurts. But once you get him, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, like, that matters. You know, I couldn't say anything about Josh Allen. Is it Josh Allen or is it the team? You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, I just feel like, and I'm not, and for some, this is a very sensitive subject, but I just feel like Josh Allen or Joe Burrow, those questions aren't asked about them. I've never seen that. Well, is it Joe Burrow or is it the team? Or is it Josh Allen or is it the team? Well, if it's Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, or anybody else, Patrick Mahomes has kind of gotten it, but morely, like, I can think of those 2 recent examples. Was it Lamar or is it the team? Or is it the system? And I sometimes you just need to give, I feel like we just don't give guys credit enough for what they're doing for their team. Like, having talent around your quarterback, that matters. I just wanted to get that off my chest. Coming into this game, this is going to be interesting. I think watching New York beat up a Minnesota team that did deal with injuries, but also, too, I think the luck just ran out on Minnesota. This was look, but also, to New York. They have an offensive line that's being held together with tape and glue as well. I'm a fan of Andrew Thomas and those boys. I still think it was a right pick for them. Evan Neal. I kind of saw some struggles in there. I don't know how you can contend a defense that has over 70 sacks this season. and you have 4 of them that are in double digits. Like, it's going to come down to giving Daniel Jones protection in the pocket. That's my key. That's one. And then also, too, it's going to come down to the run. We all know that Jordan Day, when you signed the Dominican Sue, Linval Joseph, and you got, when they get Jordan Davis and stopping Saquon Barkley. I feel like, I think if you take away the run, and that's Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones, you've essentially beaten the Giants. Because the one thing is going to be interesting to see which defense is going to show up tomorrow. You take away the run for both, you won. I think Philadelphia's defense is a lot better. It's again up less than about 122 yards compared to New York is like 144. And New York had one of the worst rushing defenses. And down the stretch, again, yes, it showed fatigue, age. And I think also, too, that's going to happen when you're going to have those kind of moments. But I think Philadelphia is going to be ready for this game. And I also, too, think you got to think, how do you figure out that Wink Martindale heavy blitz defense? I mean, he completely took out Justin Jefferson. Like, now, I mean, he had Hawkinson, Thielen, Osborne, and those guys, but he wasn't. Who was helping? I mean, they're going to get Adoree Jackson back, but the fact that Justin Jefferson was held to just 7 catches for 47 yards, he was nowhere to be found. Now the question is, how do you contain A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and those guys? Like, yeah, you're going to, like I said, Adoree Jackson did not play in that game, so you're going to get him back. And you know that Landon Collins. Like, if I remember correctly, the first time they met, Dallas Goedert did not play. And I think Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown went over for like 2 touchdowns over 100 yards. So how do you keep if you're Wink Martindale, how do you contain the weapons that Jalen Hurts has? And also, too, containing Jalen Hurts in the backfield. That's going to be the key. And also, too, it's going to come down to, I think, New York's offense. Darius Slayton, Hodges, Richie James, Daniel Bellinger. It's going to come down to those guys. The offense is the key. Saquon Barkley's going to get his. But the one thing I've watched, I look at the highlights of the Giants and even watched them sometimes, but I've had the opportunity to watch them on primetime games. When they make a mistake, like a costly turnover, they don't know how to recover from that. Whether it's bad penalties or they find themselves in situations they can't get themselves out of. And if you look at that, because that shows in their losses. And the games that they win, they don't turn the ball over. Like, if you look at it, I'll give you a great example. Last game, Minnesota. Daniel Jones would have had a huge. He had the target was Darius Slayton. It was in the fourth quarter. It was a huge drop, and that could have been. I think right there, those are moments that can't happen if you're the Giants. And again, as I said, you're facing a defense that's a match over 70 sacks, and also too, from saying it correctly, I think it's almost 18 interceptions on the year. Like, and that team is built to make you uncomfortable in the pocket, contain you in the pass and the run. Like, New York has to find ways to play mistake-free basketball, mistake-free football, or it's a wrap. And for me, I have to. This is their first playoff win in 11 years. I think that I'm happy for the Giants. Um, I'm happy for Daniel Jones, but also too, I think this game. It just I'm going to give the Eagles the edge because I think everything is in their favor. And what it's like I said, my keys. Those are the keys for New York to win. I don't know how you can contain Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. I just don't know how you're going to do that. And I feel like the Philadelphia Eagles are going to beat the New York Giants 28-17.
Guaranteed.
That's my prediction. We're going to take a quick 30-second break with this song.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever
And we're back. We're previewing the Buffalo Bills versus the Cincinnati Bengals. The last time we saw these guys play, unfortunately, the game was declared a no contest in the aftermath of what happened to DeMar Hamlin. For me, coming into this game, I think the best team on the field is Buffalo. I'm not sold on Cincinnati. I think one thing that I watched when they played Baltimore is that you can't blitz Joe Burrow. That's number one. If you look, I looked up this stat before I started. He's been blitzed less than 20% of his dropbacks, and he's had what he averages 12 touchdowns, 3 picks, and like almost 10 yards per attempt. So I'm looking at this offensive line. They don't have Lionel Collins, Jonah Williams, and Alex Kappa. Now, they got the young guys out there. So now you got to figure out how to give them confidence. That's my concern. It's the offensive line. Can that offensive line hold its own against that defensive front in Buffalo? Now, I also want to share this fun fact. Even though Joe Burrow could get the ball out of his hands quicker, you got to figure out how to not give up the deep pass to T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, or Hayden Hurst. You have to find ways to make him uncomfortable. And for me, Baltimore showed you that. They make them beat you throwing in the short field checkdowns. Like that's to me, that's going to be the key for Buffalo's defense. Now, offensively for Buffalo, my concern is number one, Josh Allen. You know, watching them play the Dolphins, they ran a cover 0, and yeah, they put up 34 points. He threw for over 350 yards. But I'm not. But he also threw 3 interceptions, and also too, like I think, but Buffalo's going to have to figure out how to ensure that they stay mistake free. Cincinnati's not a big out as an AFC North rival. Cincinnati is not big on blitzing, especially during the season. Like, it's going to come down to they're going to have to take away the deep pass. Gabe Davis, Isaiah McKenzie, Dawson Knox, Stephon Diggs. Like, but it's also going to be to them exposing their secondary. Eli Apple and then Cam Taylor Britt. And also too, Von Bell and Jesse Bates and Von Bell, they're great. They're elite. They're great safeties. But you can't double team. And like the thing is, Buffalo it's more than just Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, Isaiah McKenzie, Cole Beasley, Dawson Knox. Like, how do you contain all those pieces? And then also too, you got James Cook and Devin Singletary in the backfield. Like, they're going to have to figure out something to beating this Buffalo team. And they only gave up 7 sacks to the Dolphins. And I just it's going to come down to Josh Allen. He has to be mistake-free. That's my key to beating them. And I think that everything just rides in Buffalo's favor. Like, this is a team, I think they're looking to get back there to the AFC Championship. This is a team that they lost to Kansas City in overtime. And I think this team is on a mission, and Cincinnati's in their way. Like, but also too, to watch this team go up to 17 points and then you won by 3. Like, they did force 2 pivotal key turnovers in that Dolphin game, but other than that, I mean, you got to play mistake-free against Cincinnati. But also, too, watching Cincinnati, their defense was the reason they won that game. You take away that Tyler Huntley debacle and then the roughing the penalty crap, which I still have not recovered from, honestly. But there's you just have to play mistake. And for me, I think that, again, this is everything is in Buffalo's favor, and I'm confident. I'm going to say Buffalo wins 31-21.
Incoming message.
Wrong clip.
Guaranteed.
I think the Buffalo Bills are going to go to the AFC Championship game. Look, no disrespect to the Bengals, it's no hate. It's just I didn't see enough in the wild card game to show me that Cincinnati is going to be going back. It's going back there. I'm just not sold, and I think Joe Burrow's going to go out there and perform. They're all going to do their thing offensively. It's going to come down to the defense. That's the key. I know offensively they're going to go out there and deliver. And that's just me. And then the last game of the weekend, that team in Dallas. But before we get into that, I got a clip for y'all.
Mediocre team and Big D. That's what makes this funny. How about the Cowboys? How about the Cowboys? Some way, somehow, when it counts, just wait. They will let you down. The accident, they will mess it up. Just wait. The accident, they will let you down. Just wait. The accident, the accident, the accident, waiting to happen. It will happen. I'm predicting they're gonna be irrelevant. I'm predicting an absolute embarrassment for the last decade and a half. They make me laugh. All the talent that they have is unbelievable.
That team in Dallas is facing the San Francisco 49ers. This is actually the game of this will be the game of the playoffs for me. Yes, I called it. That team in Dallas defeated TB12 and the Bucks painfully, and now I think Dallas is facing a true. I think and this is their real test. For me, it wasn't a surprising win. Dallas was just a better team on paper. I will say that one thing that concerned me was that Dallas did allow over 300 yards in passing and a little just under 50 yards rushing. That was my concern. But Dak Prescott went out there and he delivered over 305 yards and 4 touchdowns. As a cohesive unit, they earned over 425 yards total in 128 total, 297 through the air, and then 128 on the ground. Like, that's something to sneeze at. Now, you're Dallas. You're facing a defense that, to me, is probably arguably the best defense in the league. I think what's going to come down to, it's going to come down to can Dak Prescott, what's he going to look like offensively? It's interesting. I like the confidence. Actually, I saw it on Twitter earlier today, and I like the confidence that they have going into this game. Yes, defensively, Dallas, the regular season finished in 5th, 20 points, if I'm saying that correctly, and almost created 34, 33 turnovers. And for me, it's going to, I think to me, the key is going to come down to their defense. Dak's going to go out there and do his thing, but it's going to come down to the defense. How do you haven't faced Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is riding on momentum. Since December, he's thrown 16 touchdowns and 4 interceptions the last 7 games. And he's won them all. He's watching him play Seattle, especially in the second half. That was some of the most amazing football from the quarterback position I ever saw. I can't deny that. For me, it's how do you defensively, how do you beat Brock Purdy? I think Dallas's defense is going to have to beat San Francisco offensively. And I think for me, I'm looking for Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott in this game. This is where Ezekiel Elliott, you need to remind people on why you're arguing one of the best running backs when healthy in the game. Tony Pollard, I know you're looking for a big payday. This is moments. But also, too, not going to ignore, they got Christian McCaffrey over there, and also to Elijah Mitchell. For me, Christian McCaffrey was the key to their success against Seattle. I mean, almost 120 yards, 8 yards per carry. And also, too, you have to understand, they were 8th in the league in running the ball. Allen's averaging 140 offense. But again, you also have Deebo Samuel and Elijah Mitchell, who's just coming off an injury. Now, Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard, I think, are the keys to this win as well, because when I look at them last year, they carried the ball 16 times and had a measly 45 yards as a duo.
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
So that's not going to win. That's not going to win you football games. That's something also too. And also too, San Francisco's defense, they're second against the run. They hold teams to under 100 yards per game, and they only allow about 3.5 yards per carry, per attempt. Seattle, rushed for 104 yards on the ground, but the fact that they ran, I think it was 25 times, if I'm saying that stat correctly, their longest run was Geno Smith running, I think it was about 10, 11, 12 yards. And also, too, how do you contain Nick Bosa? Arguably one of the best run stoppers in the game. So it's going to really come down to the run game, but the defense. I know offensively San Francisco is going to do their thing. Where you've got Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, McCaffrey. Those guys are going to be fine. They're going to do their thing. This is my sleeper team to get to the Super Bowl, San Francisco. But I'm also too concerned with Dallas in terms of, can you find ways to win? Create turnovers, get an effective run game, but also too, even though Dak is my key, it's going to come down to that run game, and it's going to come down to Dallas's defense. I think that's the key. But also too, like Brock Purdy, I'm not going to ignore what he's done. I think San Francisco's defense is going to be ready for those boys Sunday. I believe that. Like, it's just something, and watching them, like, this is not going to be Tampa Bay. Let me say it like that. Like, San Francisco, whether it's forcing turnovers or making the big plays offensively, like, Dak Prescott has not faced this San Francisco team, nor Dallas has not seen this team. And this is going to be their true test. Like, it's going to come down to the Dallas's defense creating pressure and creating turnovers. I need Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard to win this game, to be the reason to win this game. Dak's going to go out there and do his thing offensively. I think he's going to have a good game. But also too, I did say it in the recap. Brett Maher, because he became the first player in NFL history, painfully, to miss 4 extra points.
I mean, this is some bad stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how much more of this I can take. I just don't know. This is ridiculous. Oh, Lord.
He will not have the game that he had against Tampa. You have to give him confidence. Look, I just think it was just listen, everyone's entitled to a better. I'm not making excuses for the guy. I mean, no disrespect. The great Morton Anderson missed a potential game-winning field goal to go to the NFC Championship when he was in Atlanta. I know it was Morton Anderson. I remember he missed a field goal. But like, was it disappointing to watch him miss those 4 extra points? Yes. And also too, I hate to say this, that can't happen against a team like San Francisco. Like, you're going to have to be on your P's and Q's. And also too, you're facing on the other side, I think he should be considered a Hall of Famer, Robbie Gould. I mean, Robbie Gould, look, you look at his resume, it speaks for itself. But to say all that is that this is going to be one of the best games of the weekend. Like, I think the pressure's on Dallas's defense to deliver, but also to Dak. I know he's got to have a good game, but it's going to come down to the defense and the running offense for Dallas, and that's going to be the key. And for me, also too, Brock Purdy to me is also too. This is his true test as well, because if they beat Dallas, they're going to the Super Bowl, and I think the confidence that has been riding on the confidence on his shoulders is high. It's sky high. And for me, I'm rolling with San Francisco. I believe the San Francisco 49ers will upset the Dallas Cowboys 35-21.
Guaranteed.
And with that being said, we're going to go into our last episode message. I'm sorry, we're going to go to our last subject of the evening. I'm sorry. Final
Incoming message.
Thoughts are running through my mind. Someone took some time to find a minute or two to organize.
You know, as we're getting ready for the off season, one thing that I'm learning as I'm pursuing my degree in mass communications is a couple things. I really keen into when I'm listening to some of these talk shows, I'm really keen on hearing what the question is being asked. Like today, they had a question on after the press conference. They're not confident that they're still believing Lamar Jackson will be traded. You know, well, why is it taking this long to get a deal? And blah 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 blah. You know, one thing I'm learning, I can't take the media at face value, because obviously guys are going to say what they want to say. But one thing, I try to be fair, and I try to give a fair analysis. Like when I do my mock draft 2.0, I'm going to keep it real with it, because I still don't have a quarterback going to Houston. I don't even have a quarterback going in the first 10, 15 picks, because I just don't think a quarterback fixes their issues. Because my concern is it's the team, it's the lack of an identity, and knowing to watch how some of these quarterbacks that are currently in the league get bashed the way they have been bashed in the media. No. But I say all that to say it is that, so someone has told me we have an obligation to change the narrative that is given by the mainstream media. But also, too, I think it's also fair to say, okay, if it's our obligation, it's also fair to understand that, hey, we just think differently. We can agree to disagree. Like when I can't tell you how many people have blown my phone up and saying, well, Greg Roman's fired. What does this mean for Lamar Jackson? I've spoken on that, and I'm not speaking on it. My position has not changed. Have I had questions? Yes. But we don't really know all the details of what's going on. But for people to make assumptions like, well, why did he not travel with the team? Why did he not do this? Why has he been tweeting all that? I've seen other athletes do that. So I feel like we have to do better when we are analyzing, whether it's football, basketball, it doesn't matter. We have to be better. I know that's part of our job, but sometimes I feel like, are we really doing our job when we are just talking topics that make absolutely no sense? That's just me. That's my final message. With that being said, that's going to conclude the episode. Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. I really do appreciate it. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We will have the Maryland men's and women's recaps. We will have that up tomorrow as we get ready for Sunday. This video will go up tomorrow afternoon. I'll have that go about 12 o'clock. But until then, I will catch you guys on the flip side. Y'all have a good night. Have a good weekend. Do something fun. Stay safe. And I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode and you want to see more content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Bring your sports game on Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
Thank you. And you helped me retain my sanity. Thank you. I want to thank you. And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you for everything you